Hello everyone and welcome to the Chrissy B Show, the UK's only TV programme that's dedicated to your mental health, well-being and also helping you on to success. Now, does the thought of speaking in front of a group of people fill you with fear? Is that looming presentation keeping you awake at night? A fear of public speaking is something many of us face, so we thought we would get the advice of our business expert and confidence guru Chelsey Baker, who'll be giving me some top tips on how you can control those nerves and sell yourself the right way. We'll also be joined by Helena Chard, who'll be giving us all the mental health news in this week's Behind the Fame, and Dr. Rob Hicks, who'll be answering all of your medical questions in Doctor's Answers. Then later on, I'll be giving you my top tips on how you can find the courage to tackle what may seem like scary situations. Now, a study by YouGov in 2014 found that a fear of public speaking ranked third in the list of the UK's biggest fears, behind acrophobia, a fear of heights, and ophidiophobia, a fear of snakes. But what is it about public speaking that we find so difficult? Well, there are a number of reasons. Some researchers suggest it comes from evolution. In the past, separation from a group meant almost certain death, and people are afraid that their audience will reject them. Another study by psychologist Matthias Weiser suggests that when we enter a state of social anxiety, our ability to pick up on angry faces is heightened. But whatever the reason, we want to hear how some of you deal with your fear of public speaking, so we checked Twitter to find out. Mrs. Fitz says, I want to give a rousing speech to the troops, but I'm terrified of public speaking, and I don't have any troops. Jen says, I don't think anyone understands my fear of public speaking. Perfect Charm says, spending today and tomorrow talking to my plushies. This is how I prepare for public speaking events. Seymour says, who needs cardio when public speaking can increase your heart rate twice as fast with half the effort? Megan says, the most helpful thing I learned this semester was how to overcome my fear of public speaking. And T. Shaw says, I never remember how bad I am at public speaking until I actually have to do it. So clearly there are many struggling out there. But before we meet with Chelsey to hear her tips, let's catch up with Helena Chard in this week's Behind the Fame. Welcome to the show, Helena.
Thank you, Chrissy.
And Helena is especially happy today. Why?
I'm so excited because to my left is the most regal, wonderful, fantastic, juicy, yummy cake ever.
So this week's lovely cake is a croquant bouche, courtesy of Boulangerie Jade of South East London. Now, this amazing French wedding cake is made of hot pastry, filled with cream and built on a nougatine base made of almond and caramel. Now, all the profiteroles are glued with caramel to make this wonderful pyramid shape.
Sounds
Look at
so
these butterflies
yummy.
As well, it's amazing.
So
we shall be trying that in a little while, but first, Behind the Fame with
Fame
Helena Chard.
news. So starting off with the Duke of Edinburgh, who's 95. Imagine he's 95, so he's retiring from his duties in his public engagements in the autumn. So slightly sad, but very happy for him.
Yeah,
because
he's
can you
done
imagine
so
being
much.
95? He's done so much, but for Queenie as well, because he's always by her side and they're helping. So quite shocked, and he decided himself, and obviously the Queen said yes, that's absolutely fine. I hope he has loads of years of happiness without it. So he's got 780 organisations that he's patron of or affiliated with, members with. He's still going to be with them, but obviously not doing all the things that he does, because I mean they do a huge amount of public engagements, really. But also, I mean, there's something funny he said, because they were talking about him stepping down, and he was just saying, stepping down, I don't know about that, I can barely stand up, which sums it up, doesn't it? And also something really funny, so the villagers in the South Pacific, there's a village that absolutely worship him. It's almost like, very odd, but which is really, and thinks that he's, by him stepping down, it's triggered a cyclone or something. It's all very mystical and almost like they're God. But anyway, very strange. So moving on to the Well Child Awards, and Well Child Awards celebrates inspirational young people who've obviously quite ill, and the Well Child is a charity that helps really bring children back to live at home if they're terminally ill. So it's a really great charity. But Prince Harry, lovely Prince Harry is patron of the charity, and he went to visit the people from last year that won. It also, it's not just the children as well, it's people that help the children too, so carers and various people. And there was just looking through all the different people. I mean, you could talk about all of them because they're incredibly inspirational. But there's one called Michaela Beams, and she's 10, and she was diagnosed with brain cancer at the age of 4. She's had chemo, she's now blind, you know, various things, but she's so positive in a sense, and she's formed a charity called Team Michaela, and it's to help other children as well who are terminally ill, you know, to help their dreams come true. Yeah. And her slogan is "Dream, Pray, Miracles all the way." So it's just very sweet, isn't it? Very sweet. That. So it's sweet, isn't it? So we'll hear more about that coming up, which is nice. Moving on to Harry Styles. So in 2010 we saw Harry Styles, and he was actually told that he wouldn't make it on his own. So obviously formulated One Direction boy band, but now he's 23. I can't believe 23. He's only 23, and he's got his new single out, "Sign of the Times," which actually is brilliant. It sounds so good, and we're just about to see his debut, and he's acting in Dunkirk, which is a new film that's coming out. With Tom Hardy, who's lovely too. So it's just to prove that we can achieve anything. So never to be told, you know, you can't, because
it's such a horrible thing. It's such a horrible thing to say to someone, though, in the first place, isn't it?
But lots of people do, don't they? And if you were to believe.
So negative.
But he's living proof. I mean, amazing. So still Mental Health Awareness Week, and there's lots of lovely things going on. And Channel 4, I always think are incredible. They always do such really good things, and they partnered with Mind. So I don't know if you've seen, they've got I find it very hard to say, so the guest celebrity continuity announcers. So they're the people that keep all the programmes going. And they've been, President Stephen Fry has been talking, I mean, lots of different people talking about their own experiences, and it's really keeping the conversation going. So it's been really interesting. And also to find out, I didn't know anything about Matt Johnson. He's a presenter, quite well-known presenter. He's Welsh. He is on This Morning and various things. But he's talking about, he's now 34, and he's talking about how he tried to kill himself.
Did he?
He didn't do it. Something stopped him. But he was talking, you know, he kept it inside, even when he was on This Morning and various programmes that he's doing now. And he's decided to talk and open up about it.
So you just never know, because some people look so confident and they've got it all together, and then they're sort of
harbouring
these kind of thoughts. That's why you should never sort of think, we don't need to discuss things like this, because everyone looks, you know, they look like they've got it together, but actually...
He had everything, good looks, great job, great girlfriend, but he was just desperately unhappy. Anyway, so it's interesting, he's also bringing out a documentary. It's actually for Welsh TV, but still, it's a fabulous story. So good one to follow. Moving on as well, Amazing Good Samaritans. It's always good to hear about the public that are doing good. There's a situation, unfortunately, in Golders Green, so not too far from here, where there was a suicidal man on a bridge, and they all just rallied around for hours and held him there, you know, and talked him through things, and then an ambulance came. But it's really good, because obviously it was at a time where people would be wanting to go home after work, so it did a lot of good. And moving on to 9 years ago, Johnny Benjamin and Neil Labourne. We've spoken about that story, and I'm sure it will come up again. But so how he was talked down off a bridge, and that's really good. And now they're spokesmen for suicide prevention.
And I'm actually meeting them tomorrow, guys, because I'm going to be doing the walk with them, the Walking Out of Darkness walk, which was organised by Clasp Charity. So if you guys want to come down and join us and help raise awareness about mental health, you're very welcome to.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. It's really good. It's going to be a splendid day.
Amazing, looking forward to
it. Moving on quickly, so role reversal. Jermaine Douglas, he's a singer who was in X Factor in 2012. Really nice for Nicole Scherzinger to say how the roles have, because she was his mentor, and now he actually mentors her with life advice, and she actually said that her guardian angel. He's troubled in his own life, but it's fantastic that it's a really nice little bond. I think it's really nice to move around. And do we have any time for any more?
I don't know how long it's going to take to get one of these things off.
Am I going to go
Should we stop
first?
for today? Okay, let Helena go for it first, just in case the whole thing collapses. And I'm like,
I'm going to go.
So
I think I might have to take the top one that's got the butterflies.
So just to remind everybody, this cake is a croquant bouche. And it's from Boulangerie Jade of South East London. It's actually, come on, Helena. It's actually a wedding cake. So each one.
This is so bad, but I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to put this one back.
Okay. No, you hold that one. Okay. Come on, Helena, you can do it. Oh, she's just going to get cream everywhere. Maybe try the ones on the side. See, we don't actually know how we're supposed to eat into this, whether we're supposed to try and slice it with a knife all the way down.
Do you know what? I think I'm going to keep this one because look at that.
Okay then, I'll take mine. I'll take mine.
Your turn.
All right. I'll do that during the break. Thank you so much, Helena. And we'll see you again next week.
Good.
And guys, so don't go away yet because we're always looking to help those of you with new businesses. So we sent Julianne to the Business Funding Show in London to get some crucial advice for new startups. Let's see part 1 of how she got on.
Hi guys, Julianne here. So we're at the Business Funding Show, and it's a great place if you're looking to think about starting up a startup or you want to learn a little bit more about how to fund your own business. So we're going to look around, talk to a few people, interview a few people, and ask your questions. So let's go along.
The Business Funding Show is a series of events which helps businesses to meet top lenders and investors. Originally, we started just a year ago as an annual event, but due to high demand, this show turned quick into a series of events where we brought over 3,500 ambitious entrepreneurs and dozens of top lenders and investors. So our aim essentially is to help UK business growers, to help entrepreneurs to achieve their passions, their dreams, their goals.
Full-scale commercial bank. We're a US-based bank, but we have offices here in London looking after the UK.
Our organisation spans a very wide range of people who provide funding for business.
Well, EN is the largest business support network in the world, and we support our local businesses, so within our region, with access to funding and finance.
We're a specialist firm of lawyers. We deal a lot with startups, small to medium-sized enterprises.
Accenture is one of the world's leading global digital agencies, but also a consulting company.
My business is Startup VTV. It's an online television channel, and it's designed around startups. You know, people that have got a dream of getting to business of their own. They're getting started. They're trying to make money. They're trying to find the kind of magic formula that has them be successful week in, week out, and that's ultimately the definition of a startup.
What advice would you give for people who want to venture into this sort of thing at this sort of climate?
Well, I think my advice would be know what stage and when to seek the right sort of funding. Unless you're very, very unusual innovative tech, venture capital probably isn't right for you on day one. It's right for you on sort of year 2, year 3, moving up to so-called Series A. That's the point at which you should really think to yourself, am I willing to trade a little bit of my equity stake for a considerable injection of cash and the chance for growth momentum right at this moment?
I think it's all about resilience, because it's not something which you're going to conquer in a day or a week, and especially if you're doing business-to-business startups. It takes about 12 months to do a sale with any of the big corporates, so just be patient, be strong, and make sure you have good mentors.
I look for partners. I look for good people to work with. I look for people to support me that do different things for me, have different kinds of knowledge, and as an early startup, you should always look for a good team.
We provide several workshops on funding in particular, different sectors in different areas, so do get in touch with us. It's the best way to know what is available and the best way to tap into whatever funding is out there for you.
So we'll be seeing the second part of that video a bit later on, and me and Helena are busy chomping on this lovely cake here. So after the break, can you tell me what the official term for a fear of public speaking is? Find out after this break, and I'll also be getting our business expert Chelsey Baker's top tips on public speaking. So don't go away. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone, your TV program for all things related to mental health, well-being and being successful. Now, before the break, I asked you what the official term for the fear of public speaking is. Did you get it? The answer is glossophobia, which has symptoms including stage fright, intense anxiety and nausea. We're here to help you control some of those symptoms is our business and public speaking expert, Chelsey Baker. She's back.
Hi.
Chelsey, how are you?
Hi, Chrissy. I'm very well, thank you.
Busy as usual.
Busy, been speaking somewhere today, so I think it's very timely that I'm here today speaking about public speaking.
All right. Now, why is this such an issue for so many people, do you think, Chelsey?
Actually, a lot of it stems from when you were perhaps made to stand up in class and read out loud, so it can really go back as young as, you know, when you were at school. But there's so much nerves, and I think it just builds up in people where it's almost a debilitating effect, where they actually psych themselves up so much that they just can't move forward with it, and they conjure up all sorts of horrible ideas that it's this big monster, and it's really not. It's not that scary at all.
Okay. But aren't nerves good in some instances, though?
Nerves are very good, and it's making sure that we use those nerves in the correct way, because when you're nervous, of course, you've got that adrenaline pumping. And I mean, it's like me, I've run here today, the adrenaline's pumping, I'm ready to go, I could speak in front of 100,000 people and motivate them. Yeah. Whereas, you know, if we didn't have the adrenaline going, we'd be speaking a bit like this. So it's using those you know, that adrenaline to good use, really. And I think that there is a lot of fear associated with it because of potential outcomes. So we're talking about disappointing people, we're talking about letting people down, being perhaps humiliated in front of a crowd and embarrassed. You know, and I think people really tend to focus on the negatives. So, you know, standing there in front of an audience and, you know, potentially passing out or just seeing bright lights. When I was speaking on a world stage recently, I mean, I looked out and it was just a sea, that all the spotlights were on me. I couldn't see anything apart from, you know, vague dots. And my heart was pumping and pumping. And that's good because it, you know, it propels you forward to, you know, I think that a lot of these speakers who say, oh, they're not nervous and that, I think they all are a little bit nervous when they go on. But
I always get a little bit nervous, but once I start, I'm fine.
But it's knowing your subject. If you know your subject, then it can really take away any of the fear. So I think that we need to look really about all the deep-rooted problems of why people are scared, because learning to speak confidently in public will do more to enhance your career, your life, both professionally, personally, and in business than anything else. Just think in business, you have to liaise and speak at conferences, workshops, seminars. In your personal life, at board meetings, chairing an AGM. Whereas in your personal life, it might be preparing a best man speech and delivering it. It could be, you know,
can't really hide from these things, can you?
Networking meetings,
at some point,
birthdays,
everything. That's true. So give us now your top tips to help our viewers about public speaking.
So I think it all starts, of course, with planning. So prepare what you're going to speak about, and then obviously we really do need to practice it. So fear and nerves really comes through not knowing what you're speaking about. It's all in the planning. You've got to go into deliver that speech knowing the subject inside out, but really planning it. Everything has a beginning, a middle, an end, a call to action. You're giving a speech. What do you want people to do at the end of it? You know, are you going to hand them out some information? Do you want them to telephone you? Do you want them to email you? Do you want to book a one-to-one with them? What do you want? Why are you there giving this speech? What do you want from the people there? There has to be a reason, which is R, because I've created perfect talk. So I thought if we go down the little, so P would be plan and prepare and practice. And those are the key things. So E, perfect talk. E would be engage. Now, when you're there, you're standing on a stage, or maybe you're giving a speech at a board meeting or something, you just can't be boring. You've really got to engage with everybody that you're speaking. And to engage with people, you need to know really who you're talking to. So you need to ascertain, would they find something funny? Would it be, you know, particularly relevant if you talked about X, Y, or Z? It's just knowing how to engage. I'm flying to San Francisco to speak to 8-year-olds, 8 to 12-year-olds.
Really?
Yeah, in Silicon Valley.
Oh, wow.
So how I address the 8 to 12-year-olds is going to be completely different to how I address my usual my usual business crowd, should I say.
It's so much fun.
It's going to be fun. I'm going to have to be really hyper and energetic and lots of arm movements and, you know, get them on board. But I'll also have to change how I speak in a certain way, because they're not going to understand the financial advice and things like that. So I have to really make sure that the language is appropriate for the audience. So for our imperfect talk, it's very, very important to get rest. Before you ever do a big talk, I actually meditate. I do transcendental meditation, and I do it, practice it for 20 minutes, and the clarity in my mind. I could go out and do a talk. I have no funny thoughts or, swirling thoughts about nerves or anything. So for me, actually getting that rest through meditation is a great tip. F is formulate. So formulate actually what you're talking about. So you have to go in there with a talk and say, perhaps this is where I started. I was where you are. Now you can do this too. There has to be some structure to what you're talking about. This is where you started. This is what you did to improve it. This is where you are now. And this is how you guys, the audience, can get involved and do the same. Follow me, and you're sharing, speaking from the heart, your own experience. E in perfect talk is for energy. So if I sat here now and I just talk like this, we need energy, because otherwise the audience is going to fall asleep. And sometimes when I'm giving lectures or I'm speaking at various events, I will clap my hands because it just suddenly wakes everybody up.
It scares them if they've been sleeping.
And scares them. When
But they never sleep during your speeches, do they, Chelsey?
No, because I'm too loud.
Yes.
So energy, and of course body language. So, if you're giving a talk and you're all hunched up like this, because you're nervous, it's not good. So E is for energy, C is for confidence. We also have clothes are important. It's very important that when you're going to do a talk or speak in public, if you're representing a business or you're representing your own brand, you do need to, it almost gives you, clothes and confidence work nicely together, because if you put on a nice suit and it's sharp and it's pressed and it's clean and it's ironed, it almost gives you the confidence free.
It does, yeah.
It's like me coming on today in my pyjamas. You would not get this same talk in my pyjamas. So clothes and confidence. T is for tone. So it's really important to have that raised pitch and repeat words. If there's something you're really excited about, people buy people and they hear the passion. And I think it's very important to speak from the heart about stuff that is true, that you really know about. So T is for tone, and to be clear and concise. I paused there for the reason. So to be clear and concise, you do need to really articulate your words, otherwise you're just mumbling, and an audience don't like to hear somebody mumble and they don't quite understand the words. And
or speaking too quickly, I suppose.
So talk, time. I've got a clock here and it says 1 minute 29. Know your timings. So I have to be very, when I'm going to do a keynote speak, you have big clocks everywhere. You are countdown, you are off. And if you leave a lot of good tips or good advice until, you won't get to share it because your time is off. So really do think about, if you're there at a wedding or a speech, what are your timings? Have you got 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes? A is for audience. It really is very important, perhaps, that when you walk out, you're almost acting the part and, almost pretending that you know your audience when you don't. So I may walk onto a stage and say, hello, and I have no idea who they are, but it's almost acting that part. So it gives me the confidence that I actually am familiar with everybody already. Nice. That person, I don't care whether they didn't know me or not, it made me feel good. So how many have got 30 seconds? L is for loud. There is nothing worse than being a really meek speaker and just speak it and you can't hear them. I was somewhere recently the other day and I just put my hand up and said, excuse me, I can't hear you. Because it's such a shame. People have something great to say. So 10 seconds, knowledge, know your subject. This is the biggest bugbear of all. If you don't know your subject, you are not going to come across confident. So please know your subject and enjoy it. It's amazing.
Amazing tips, Chelsey. Thank you so much. And all within the time allocated. Brilliant. And we'll see you again very soon. And good luck with your talk with the 8 to 11-year-olds, was it? Good luck with that.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So earlier we saw part 1 of how Julianne got on at the Business Funding Show in London. So let's catch up with her as she learns more about the ever-changing world of business.
What would you say is the climate currently for startups? Is it a good time to go in and ask for funding right now, or would you say that we should be holding back? What's your opinion on that?
So I think it's a really interesting time for startups because the UK is always going to be different to the US because we have less funding over here. It's just our VCs are smaller. But there's great energy in the market to grow and evolve, especially with change around regulation and Brexit and all of these different things. So we're seeing great companies come up and real appetite from the corporates to actually want to grow and get engaged.
It used to be the case that people found it very, very hard to get funding to launch a business. Now that's far less true in Britain than it used to be. So actually finding money, if you're a plausible person with a credible business plan to get going, isn't that difficult. It's finding the first £50,000. It's when you need £500,000, £1 million, maybe £2 million to really fulfill your potential. That's when the number of potential suppliers of capital falls, and that's why I think venture capital and private equity become key players.
Well, actually, London, where we are at the moment, is a fantastic place to start up a business in the tech and innovation sector. There's such an ecosystem around here. There are so many shared workspaces. It's a great idea to go into a shared workspace and share your ideas and start to get ideas from similar people who are looking in the sort of part of the sector you're looking into.
It is a really exciting time, undoubtedly. Those barriers to entry have really come down, which is great for you as a business coming in, but you've also got to be aware that it also makes it in some ways more challenging. So I think the market, the landscape is evolving. But yeah, when we're seeing some really interesting stuff coming through.
What would you say for things like Brexit? Does that affect the climate at the minute?
You know, everyone was really worried about Brexit, and actually we haven't seen a significant impact on the technology and innovation sector at all, and we haven't seen a significant impact on funding going into the sector either.
I think all Brexit does is it means your calculations around certain sorts of businesses change. It becomes more important to be either completely domestic or genuinely global and not too narrowly European focused, and it matters a lot whether or not your labour force consists of people who largely come from outside the UK and from the EU in particular. You need to think more carefully about those sorts of things, but this is not a game changer. It doesn't bring to an end what's an incredibly vibrant funding environment at the moment.
So my background is economics, so I think with anything like this, it introduces change and it causes a little bit of confusion, but I think it's an opportunity because there's great talent in the UK, there's great facilities in terms of growing that talent here, so I think we just need to be looking internally to see what we can do to support the economy from within the UK while everyone else around the world figures out how to work with us, and it will be fine.
Basically adapt, change, we'll make it through. Yeah. So, such amazing advice here today, Chrissy. So be sure everyone to listen, learn from it, and we'll see you back at the studio. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much to Julianne. Well, after the break, I'll be joined by Dr. Rob Hicks, who'll be answering all of your medical questions, including this one. I am a 33-year-old man and my doctor told me I have low levels of testosterone. Are testosterone supplements safe to use for those like me who don't quite have the average amount, or should they be avoided? Well, tune in after the break to hear Rob's verdict. Hi, I'm Chrissy B and my show is all about improving your mental health and being happy. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. on my channel Sky 203. Visit chrissybshow.tv for more information and subscribe to our YouTube channel Chrissy B Show. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chrissy B Show and on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone, the TV program that looks after your mental health and well-being. So now it's time for our weekly Doctor's Answers with our very own Dr. Rob Hicks. And if you have any questions for Rob, please do contact us on info@chrissybshow.tv. Now, before the break, we asked this question from this 33-year-old man, and he says, My doctor told me I have low levels of testosterone. Are testosterone supplements safe to use for those like me who don't quite have the average amount, or should they be avoided? Welcome to the show, Rob.
Hi, Chris. That's a good starting question.
Nice starting question, yeah. What's your opinion?
Well, my first question would be, actually, why did you have that test done in the first place? Because that will influence whether or not you need to have testosterone supplements. If you've not got any symptoms, then generally speaking, we wouldn't, offer replacement therapy, because actually it's not a problem. Many men have a slightly lower than average level of testosterone. It makes no difference to them whatsoever. But if it's causing symptoms, so let's say tiredness or a lack of libido, for example, then it might be worthwhile having supplements. But my message to you is, the doctor's already tested, they've given you the results, ask them what they think the best course of action is for you as an individual.
Okay, so next question, Rob. This person says, I've got a case of toenail fungus that I'm understandably finding quite difficult to live with. I've tried the over-the-counter treatments, but it hasn't even affected it. Is it curable, or do I just need to learn to live with it?
Well, the good answer to this is it is curable. You don't need to just learn to live with it. The reality is fungal infections of the toenail take months to get rid of. What I would suggest to you first, though, is actually ask your doctor to test some of the toenail to make sure that it is a fungal infection, because there are other conditions that look very similar to a fungal infection. So if you've thought that you've got a fungal infection of the toenail, you've gone to your pharmacist, you've got the over-the-counter treatment, and you're trying that and it's not having any benefit, it might be because actually it's not a fungal infection in the first place. If it turns out to be a true fungal infection, then your doctor will probably ask you, would you mind having some medications and tablets for it? But be reminded that yes, you can cure these infections, but they do take a long time, so you need to be patient.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Next question. Hi, Rob, could you tell me what the symptoms of pancreatitis are?
Yes. Yeah, the symptoms of pancreatitis, well, let's think about the organ first. It's the pancreas is an organ within the abdomen that produces hormones. So it produces insulin, for example, and it also produces digestive enzymes to help digest food. Pancreatitis simply means inflammation of the pancreas, and the common causes of this are infection, too much alcohol, gallstones, or injury. And the symptoms, which is the question you asked, is sudden, sort of aching upper abdominal pain, and this pain can go through and be felt in the back. It can also be felt in the lower scapula, so the shoulder blade bone in the back as well. Many people with pancreatitis find that if they're lying flat, the pain is worse, and so what they do is they curl themselves up into a ball because that eases the pain. And there are other symptoms as well you can get with pancreatitis. So you might get nausea and vomiting, you might get a fever, you might get indigestion, and your skin might turn yellow and the whites of your eyes may turn yellow, and that's called jaundice. So those are the symptoms to be aware of. If you think you've got any of those symptoms, then you should seek urgent medical advice.
Okay, next question. Hi Rob, I've had a persistent crick in my neck for over a month. I've had x-rays and the bones are fine. What could this be? Do I need a chiropractor, or are there things I can be doing myself?
You know what, this is a really increasingly common problem, and it's reassuring to know that the bones have been checked and they're okay, because that tells me that it's going to be a muscular ligament type issue, and more often than not that's related to posture.
Okay.
So it's posture of people being hunched over a computer, or people taking their phone and trying to hold it, between the ear and the shoulder, or looking down on it all the time. So posture is one thing to think about. If you think it could be related to the way that you're making phone calls, think about going hands-free or putting the phone on speaker. Another cause is potentially stress. There's a reason why people get tension in the neck, and that can cause what feels like a crick in the neck as well. Exercise, particularly over-exercise, is another common finding. So whether you should see a chiropractor or not, I would ask your doctor for the advice. It could be a chiropractor, it could be an osteopath, it could be a physiotherapist that's the best for you, or what's available to you. The thing to be aware of though is if you're also getting symptoms like shooting pains down your arms, or numbness, or pins and needles in your hands or in your arms, then don't hesitate to get another opinion from your doctor, because that generally means that there's some pressure on the nerves.
Okay, thank you for that question. And the next one. Hi Rob, I've found recently I have been having muscle spasms in my right arm. Nothing too bad, but obviously quite uncomfortable. What happens in a muscle spasm and how can I prevent them?
Well, the answer to this, muscle spasm, is basically that the muscles go into spasm, what we call involuntarily. So you're not using the muscle, you're just sitting there and they start to spasm for no reason.
Is it like a cramp? Or
no, it's slightly different to a cramp. But the other thing is usually there's no obvious reason for muscle spasms. And thankfully, in majority of cases, they're absolutely harmless.
Okay.
And once somebody stops worrying about them, often they disappear.
Oh, interesting.
Now, saying that, there are some things to think about that can increase the likelihood of muscle spasms occurring. So being dehydrated is quite a common cause. Being overtired, doing too much exercise in certain muscles, being stressed, or if you're taking medication, then side effects of some medicines can cause muscle spasms. So if this is something that is persisting and you can't control it by making sure that you're not dehydrated and by getting enough rest and relaxation, then ask your doctor to give you a checkup to make sure there's not an underlying reason for why this is happening. But I suspect, as in the majority of cases, these spontaneous contractions, they're almost like twitches of muscles really, will settle once you stop worrying about them.
Okay, and our last question for today, Rob. I was just wondering how often we should go for a general health check at the GP. I get quite anxious about having things wrong with me, and I also get nervous about going to the doctor, and I want to make sure I'm not going too little or too much. Interesting question.
That's a very interesting question. The answer to that is how often should you go and have a general checkup. Generally, it's we don't tend to do in the UK general checkups. We respond to people's symptoms, but we do invite people to have certain tests done. So, for example, women are invited to have a cervical smear test done. People are invited to have their blood pressure checked. So, when you're invited to have these tests, examinations, then you should go along. With regards to things like blood pressure, ideally you'd have that checked every 3 to 5 years. Unless you're advised to have it more frequently by your doctor or your nurse. But what is coming across to me from this question is, here's somebody who's concerned about something, and actually what I think they're saying is, I don't want to waste the doctor's time. And I would say to you that you're never going to be wasting the doctor's time. If you're worried about something, you should get it checked out. You shouldn't be sort of thinking, oh, I can't really go along, maybe I'm going too often. And I would be prepared for the doctor to ask you that question. Is there something troubling you? Because it sounds to me like there is something troubling you and you're not quite ready to actually talk about it, but I would encourage you to do so.
Brilliant. Rob, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
And we'll see you again next week. And guys, don't forget, if you have a question for Rob, please do email us on info@chrissybshow.tv. Well, do stay tuned, because after the break we have more for you. We're going to be finding out about something called Anxiety United, and also we asked the viewers this question: what do you do to prepare yourself and your mind for the week ahead? So we'll hear some of those responses after this break. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone. Now on Twitter we like to ask different questions to our lovely viewers, and we asked what you do to prepare your mind for the week ahead. And Lisa Create says, to help me start my day, I draw and paint. It relaxes me, and I share on here hoping to inspire others to draw through their dark days. So thank you very much for that comment. Well, today we've been discussing public speaking and the many ways you can gain the confidence needed to address a large number of people. But if you're not quite there yet, then fear not, as there are other ways you can reach people. Here, Billy Cross tells us how he helps people suffering with anxiety through his vlog-based charity, Anxiety United. Let's take a look.
Back Back in 2006, I experienced my first ever panic attack, completely out of the blue, and before that moment, I didn't really have much knowledge of anxiety, panic attacks, or mental health in general. And it didn't take long for this panic attack to escalate into an anxiety disorder, a fear and anticipation of this ever happening again. I initially turned to my GP, who quickly offered me medication and eventually a course of CBT. After a few months waiting, I started my CBT, but unfortunately for me, this didn't have much of an effect on my condition. About a year into my disorder, my condition had worsened until I reached a point of which my comfort zone had shrunk to the size of my house. I was now housebound, agoraphobic. The months passed by and my anxiety worsened. In a last-ditch attempt to try and get myself some kind of normality, I turned to the internet. I had an idea that maybe if I could reach out and find other people that could relate to my condition and my experiences, this might help me in the fact that I know that I'm no longer alone in this disorder. So I started making YouTube videos, me detailing my experiences and sharing my symptoms, sensations, what I'd been doing to try and help myself. And within a short period of time, I noticed other people starting uploading videos, sharing their experiences. And during my first attempt at CBT, I'd been introduced to exposure therapy, and this was something that always struck a chord with me. It was just that it was so difficult to actually pursue at the time. So I then switched my attention to creating videos of myself carrying out certain exposure therapy tasks. And the idea behind this move was to try and encourage others to carry out these same tasks, to help keep me motivated, to help inspire me to tackle new and more anxiety-provoking tasks. And it really paid off. I'm still in touch with a few of those friends now, and they're living much happier lifestyles. They really have managed to keep anxiety at bay. And I too had reached a point where I was no longer housebound. I'd broadened my horizons. I'd started my own business. I was able to go shopping. I was able to go out and eat. All those things that I'd taken for granted before this panic attack had started me on this path. And although I wasn't free from anxiety, I was certainly a long way off where I had been. So in 2014, I decided to switch my attention to try and help others. After the success that myself and my friends had experienced, I thought it was a great idea to try and share this theory. And I too was on a mission of self-discovery still at this point. I'd been referred for CBT again to try and help myself finally get over that final hurdle. And my idea was to try and maybe vlog and blog my experiences with this latest CBT course. So I created a website called Anxiety United. I also set up social media accounts so I could post the vlogs and blogs and try and find other people who may be able to relate to my situation. And within a short space of time, I noticed that the website was getting more hits. There were people there that were interested, that could relate, and that also wanted to share their story. It then occurred to me that what I was doing was creating another small, close-knit community of people that were suffering, that could relate, and that wanted to take steps to improve. So I looked into turning Anxiety United from this blog into a social network where sufferers could engage with others. And this is where Anxiety United really took a step forward. I'd created a network for sufferers of anxiety to go and seek help, to seek advice, to share experiences. There were no paid professionals, no textbook qualifications. All the experience that was shared on Anxiety United and is today is lived experience. I began working alongside other sufferers who had a vast knowledge of mental health and anxiety to create free resources such as audio podcasts, relaxation downloads, downloadable worksheets, videos. We created pages of information covering topics such as conditions, treatments, and medications. This small project, Anxiety United, that I once envisioned as a sole blog for myself, had become a peer support network and a free resource centre for anxiety sufferers. And the key concept behind Anxiety United is to show sufferers that they're not alone. Anxiety is a very lonely condition, and it makes you feel isolated, and often there are times where you feel like that you can be the only person suffering from this condition. So I wanted to give sufferers a place to go, somewhere away from the normal social media platforms, somewhere where they can talk about their experiences non-judgmentally, without prejudice. Now I know there is no cure for anxiety, there is no magic pill, and essentially if you want to recover then you have to do the hard work yourself. But it always helps to have a support network, and if you haven't got family or friends that you can talk to, then sometimes getting online and using these available communities is essential. Anxiety United as a platform is there to help you, whether you have sought professional help already, whether you intend to, whether you're not quite ready to. There are members on the Anxiety United website who surely will be able to relate to your current situation, and that's the beauty of the website. You can click, log in, share your experiences, whether it's for the day, whether it's from the past, whether it's a symptom, whether it's a sensation, whether it's about a small progress that you've made. Experience is our teacher, and what we learn, we must share. That's the motto. And as for the future of Anxiety United, well, I just see that growing bigger, growing stronger, like me, like you. Just remember that you're not alone in this anxiety. There's plenty of people out there suffering, plenty of people who can relate, but there's also plenty of people that have recovered. We can get there, we will get there. We'd like to thank the Chrissy B Show for giving us this opportunity to share our platform. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Billy there of Anxiety United. So now it's time to talk about my tips on finding the courage to tackle difficult situations. So my first point is, ask yourself, is this fear rational? So many fears are not rational. So for example, an irrational fear would be, I'm going to leave this house and something bad is going to happen to me. Could it happen? Possibly, but it's a very, very slight possibility. A rational fear, however, is, for example, I might mess up that interview. Well, if you've not prepared well for it, then, probably you will mess up. If you've done everything, you've done your research, you know about the company, you've planned your outfit, you've rehearsed and everything like that, then you probably won't mess it up. So you have to kind of really listen to that fear and see, is it really rational? Have I prepared myself enough? And then, work from there. My second point is to practice, practice, practice. So this is one of the ways that you will overcome certain fears. So for example, I did have a bit of a fear about driving. I don't know if it stemmed from a route that I had because my grandfather was killed by a driver. He was out on his bike and he got run over. And I kind of always had that kind of, I don't know if I want to drive, or I was always a bit nervous behind the wheel. But then I realized, come on, you've got to sort of get on with this and stop being silly and start driving. And I noticed that as I started to drive maybe 2 or 3 times a week, then the fear disappeared. But I remember when I first got into the car, I was shaking. I was so nervous. I was going really slowly. There were cars beeping at me behind me. I was making loads of mistakes. But then I thought, I'm going to stick with this, even though I kind of hated it. But by the time I'd practiced a bit and got used to it, I actually started enjoying driving. So a lot of many fears that you might have can be overcome by just actually going out there and doing the thing that you're afraid of. My third point is, seek out the unfamiliar. So if you always stick to what is familiar, you'll always be scared of things. And people grow in confidence by just trying. And I always encourage people on this program to try different things, try new things, things that you haven't done before. That's the way that you can discover new talent. You can discover things that you didn't even know you'd be good at, that you can even use maybe as a career or to make money in the future. But if you just sort of stay doing the same old thing all the time, your confidence isn't going to grow. Now, I know there's some people that say, well, actually, I like my comfort zone. I enjoy being in it. And if you're that kind of person, then great. And if you don't get bored, then wonderful. But many people, over the years, if they're doing the same thing, then they do get very bored with life and it can get quite depressing. So if you find yourself in that situation, just try different things, whether it's a new hobby, somewhere different to go out, different stuff. You'll find that will actually build your confidence. And the fourth point is, butterflies don't mean don't do it. So some people think that if they feel nervous about something, if they feel, they feel those butterflies, it's a sign that they shouldn't be doing that thing. It's not natural for them to do. Well, actually, we all go through that, especially when something is new for us, if it's a new challenge, if it's something at work that we haven't done before. We do get nervous, we do have butterflies, but it doesn't mean that you're not capable. Actually, I think it's a sign that you actually care about what you're doing and you care about doing well, and it's a good thing. So don't let the butterflies stop you or make you think that you shouldn't be doing that thing. Actually, when you have these butterflies, it's a good thing to just go for it, as I said in my earlier point, and you'll see how, you might surprise yourself. Well, everyone, we have reached the end of today's program, but if you have a comment about anything that you've seen on the show today, or you have a story that you would like to share, do get in touch with us. You can email us on info@chrissybshow.tv, or you can tweet us at Chrissy B Show, or leave a message on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. And if you'd like to know more about me and how I beat depression and other mental health issues, you can visit my personal website, which is mylifeafterdepression.com. Until next time, bye-bye for now. Welcome back to today's Chrissy B Show, everyone, where we've been focusing on public what? Behind acrophobia, a fear of heights, and I knew I was going to get this wrong. Ophidiophobia.